The city of Chicago always felt like a giant heartbeat to me, sometimes a comforting rhythm, sometimes a pounding drum of endless noise and demand. My name is Mike, and for 42 years I have called this bustling place home. Most days you would find me under the hood of a car or up on a roof or wrestling with plumbing in a dusty basement. I was a handyman, a jack of all trades, working for a general contractor around the city. It was honest work, hard work, the kind that left your muscles aching and your hands calloused, but it put food on the table for my daughter, Lily. Lily was my world, a bright, curious 10-year-old with a smile that could melt the winter snow right off Lake Michigan. We lived in a small, two-bedroom apartment on the west side, a place that felt a little threadbare around the edges, just like my favorite work shirt. I dreamed of more for her, a house with a small yard where she could play freely, a place that felt truly ours, not just rented. Every night after Lily was asleep, I would sit at our small kitchen table, staring at bills that piled up like autumn leaves, and I would feel a deep, quiet ache in my chest. That ache was the fear that I was not doing enough, that I would never be enough to give her the life she deserved. That was my internal nemesis, the nagging doubt that whispered, "You are stuck, Mike. You will always be stuck." Life with Lily was full of small joys, her laughter, her silly stories, her tight hugs, but it also carried its own heavy weight. Lily had been born with a delicate heart, needing special attention and regular doctor visits that often led to unexpected medical bills. Those bills, combined with the rising cost of living in Chicago, meant that every extra shift I picked up, every weekend side job I managed to squeeze in, felt like bailing water from a sinking ship. My old pickup truck, my faithful work companion, was a constant source of worry, sputtering and groaning more often than not. I knew it was only a matter of time before it gave up completely, and without it, I could not work. I spent countless evenings tinkering with it, trying to coax a few more miles out of its weary engine, just like I tried to coax a few more dollars out of my meager paycheck. I saved every penny I could, tucking it away in a worn envelope, hoping to build a nest egg for a down payment on a small house, but it felt like trying to fill a bucket with holes. The hope would flicker bright and strong when I imagined Lily running through her own yard picking dandelions. Then it would dim again, overshadowed by the reality of our expenses. I was a man of quiet pride, preferring to solve my own problems, to carry my own burdens. But the truth was, I was exhausted. The weight of it all pressed down on me, heavy and constant. One chilly spring, I stumbled upon an online listing for a tiny, fixer-upper house in a decent neighborhood not too far from Lily's school. It was old, certainly, and needed a lot of work, but it had a small, fenced backyard. My heart leaped. This was it. This was our chance. I spent weeks poring over every detail, calculating materials, imagining the repairs I could do myself. I talked to a loan officer, stretched every number, and by some miracle I was pre-approved for a mortgage. It would be tight, impossibly tight, but it was possible. I saw us there, painting the walls together, planting a small garden. I felt a surge of hope I hadn't felt in years, a belief that I might actually break free from the cycle of just barely making it. I drove by the house almost every day after work, picturing our new life, the way the sunlight would hit the kitchen in the morning, the sound of Lily's laughter echoing in the small yard. I even started picking out paint colors in my mind. Then came the inspection report. The news hit me like a physical blow. Beyond the obvious cosmetic repairs, the house needed a complete roof replacement, and worse, the foundation showed signs of severe settling that required extensive and costly repairs. The estimated cost for these hidden problems was staggering, tens of thousands of dollars, far more than my already stretched loan could cover, far more than I had in my emergency savings. The dream house dissolved before my eyes. I sat in my truck in the empty house driveway, the engine turned off, the silence echoing my own crushing disappointment. Tears pricked at my eyes, hot and unwelcome. I closed my fists tightly, trying to push away the overwhelming feeling of failure. All that hope, all that planning, all that sacrifice for nothing. It was just another dead end. I felt utterly defeated, trapped by circumstances I couldn't control. On the drive home, the worn, rotting wooden steps of our apartment building's front porch seemed to mock me. I had meant to bring it up to the landlady, had even considered fixing them myself on a weekend, but time and money always seemed to disappear before I could get to it. They were a perfect symbol of everything in my life that felt like it was decaying, just out of reach of my ability to fix. I pulled into my usual parking spot, the exhaustion in my bones deeper than usual, the bitter taste of surrender on my tongue. I wanted to give up. I wanted to just stop trying. As I slowly got out of my truck, my gaze fell upon our apartment building's front porch. My mind was still reeling from the devastating news about the house, my spirit heavy and bruised. I was barely paying attention, just putting one foot in front of the other, focused on getting inside, on telling Lily that the house was not going to happen, on trying to hide the depth of my disappointment from her bright, hopeful eyes. But then I stopped. My eyes widened. I blinked, then blinked again, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. The old, splintered, rotting wooden steps that led up to our front door, the ones that groaned underfoot and always felt precarious, were gone. In their place stood brand new, sturdy, beautiful wooden steps. They looked strong and safe, the fresh scent of lumber still faint in the evening air. I took a step closer, my hand reaching out to touch the smooth, unpainted wood. It was real. It wasn't a dream. My mind raced, trying to figure out who could have done this. The landlady never authorized repairs that quickly. I looked up and down the street, but there was no one around, no work trucks, no tools. Just the quiet hum of the city and these new steps. I felt a surge of confusion, followed quickly by a wave of something else, something I hadn't felt in a long time, a jolt of pure, unadulterated wonder. Later that evening, after Lily was asleep, I finally gathered the courage to ask Mrs. Petrova, our kind, elderly neighbor who always seemed to know everything. She smiled knowingly. "Oh, those beautiful new steps," she chirped. "It was Mr. Henderson, dear, the contractor across the street. He saw them getting worse and worse, worried someone would fall. Said he couldn't stand by and let it happen. Just showed up this morning before anyone was even awake and worked all day. Wouldn't take a dime from me even when I offered. Said someone had to do it. It wasn't safe. A good man, that Mr. Henderson." I stood there, speechless. Mr. Henderson. I knew him by sight, a quiet man who always waved when he saw me, a fellow working man. He had just seen a problem, a danger, and he had fixed it out of the goodness of his heart without being asked, without wanting anything in return. He had seen the rotting steps, something I had seen every day but was too bogged down to fix, and he had acted. It was such a simple act, yet it felt monumental. It wasn't just wood he had rebuilt. He had rebuilt a small piece of my faith, my hope. He had shown me that there was still unexpected kindness in the world, that someone cared, even if they were a stranger. It broke through the wall of isolation and despair I had built around myself, a wall I hadn't even realized was there until it crumbled. That night, I didn't just feel the sting of failure over the house. I also felt a new warmth spreading through my chest, a quiet strength. Mr. Henderson's simple act of generosity was a seed planted in the barren ground of my despair. It made me realize something profound. I had skills, I had experience. I was a handyman, a builder. If Mr. Henderson could just see a problem and fix it, why couldn't I build something for myself? For Lily? The internal nemesis of doubt that had plagued me for so long started to shrink, replaced by a spark of courage. I thought about all the times I had fixed other people's homes, putting my heart into every repair, every renovation. Why was I always working for someone else, always just getting by? That morning, as I walked down the sturdy new steps, I felt a resolve harden within me. I decided to take a leap of faith. I would start my own business. Small at first, doing odd jobs for neighbors, relying on word of mouth. I would call it Mike's Home Solutions. It was terrifying, exciting, and absolutely necessary. The first few months were tough, working my full-time job during the day and squeezing in my own small projects in the evenings and on weekends. I was constantly tired, but it was a different kind of tired now, a fulfilling tired. Slowly, my reputation grew. Neighbors told their friends, and those friends told others. I fixed a leaky faucet for an elderly woman, refusing payment because she reminded me of my own grandmother. I helped a young couple build a sturdy swing set for their children, charging only for materials because I remembered my own dreams for Lily. I worked harder than ever, but now the work was truly mine. And as my business grew, so did my confidence. I saved every penny from Mike's Home Solutions, putting it towards the dream of a real home. 2 years later, I stood in the yard of a small house on the north side, not the first fixer-upper, but a different one. A house I had renovated myself from the ground up with my own hands. Lily ran through the small, fenced yard, her laughter ringing out exactly as I had dreamed. One afternoon, years later, I was installing a new fence for a client. My tools spread out around me, the sun warm on my back. My business was thriving, my truck was new, and Lily was a healthy, happy teenager. As I worked, I noticed an older gentleman struggling to carry a heavy bag of groceries across the street. It was Mr. Henderson. He looked a little grayer, a little slower. Without a second thought, I put down my hammer, walked over, and offered to help. He looked up, his eyes meeting mine, and a flicker of recognition passed between us. "Mike," he said, his voice a little raspy. "I remember you. You live in the apartment building across from me, yes? Good to see you thriving." I smiled. "Mr. Henderson," I replied, "I'm doing well, thanks to you." He looked puzzled. "To me, I don't recall ever helping you, son." I just nodded, a profound sense of gratitude washing over me. "You rebuilt my front steps, Mr. Henderson, years ago. You probably don't remember, but that act of kindness, it rebuilt more than just wood for me. It gave me hope when I had none. It changed everything." He looked at me for a long moment, a slow smile spreading across his face. Well, someone had to do it, Mike. They weren't safe. We shared a knowing glance, two men connected by a simple act of unexpected kindness. I carried his groceries inside, refusing any thanks, just as he had refused payment for the stairs. As I walked back to my truck, I knew with absolute certainty that some foundations are not built with concrete or wood, but with the quiet, powerful strength of human connection, one step of kindness at a time. And sometimes, it's those hidden foundations that hold up an entire life.